As COVID-19 continues to spread around the world, people in all countries are being encouraged to take precautions to prevent transmission, including staying at home, physical distancing, and also other measures. In the meantime, researchers around the world are racing to develop a vaccine against COVID-19, with more than 140 candidate vaccines now tracked by the World Health Organization. Now, vaccines normally require years of testing and additional time to produce at scale, but scientists are hoping to develop a coronavirus vaccine within 12 to 18 months. Vaccines mimic the virus or part of the virus they protect against, stimulating the immune system to develop antibodies. They must follow higher safety standards than other drugs because they are given to millions of healthy people. For more on these vaccines and the treatment regimen for the coronavirus, we have in the studio Dr. Oluwatoyin Ojo, a clinical and public health pharmacist, Association of Hospital and Administrative Pharmacists of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much, Millicent.
All right. So how close are we in this race for a vaccine for COVID-19 or a treatment that works?
Well, for vaccine development, on a normal level, it takes about 4 to 5 years to develop. And there are various stages that the design and development will go through. Clinical initially lab stages, animal studies, and then before you progress to clinical stages involving humans. And so basically it takes like 4 to 5 years, but because of the pandemic situation, it's been expedited for it to be able to come up within 12 to 18 months. So as we speak, there's some level of progress from some pharmaceutical companies. I remember Pfizer brought out information relating to conclusion of a particular stage of the trial. So work is still ongoing, and we're hopeful that something will come out that would demonstrate immunogenicity, ability to develop an immune response in the patients and be able to help with prevention.
So in terms of hydroxychloroquine, because we've heard about it again in recent times, it's resurfaced as a sort of treatment, or some even say a cure for COVID-19, and that's hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and zinc. Please tell us, is that still a viable treatment for COVID-19?
Well, as I speak, there is no definitive statement relating to those molecules you spoke about. And the way it runs before you bring out a medication for use in a particular ailment or disease, it has to go through stages of development. So as we speak, hydroxychloroquine happens to be an old molecule that has been used for other indications before now. It's been repositioned for COVID. So we are still in the stages, a lot of researches are still going on relating to hydroxychloroquine. So it would be too early for us to jump to conclusions, because we should talk about evidence-based medicine practice that requires us working with evidence. For that, you have the evidence coming in stages. The lowest level of evidence is what we call the expert opinion, where you find a clinician observing some responses from patients and then coming up to say something. But that's not enough for us to begin to jump to use those molecules. We must take it further by designing studies. You know, studies could be case control studies, case series, and then the gold standard in research is the randomized control placebo studies that would help us to be able to come to a definite conclusion as to usefulness. And then when we are talking about usefulness, it's not just that the medication can bring out positive therapeutic outcomes. We should also look at the safety, because medicine is a combination of two things: the risk attributed to the medication and the benefits. We must be able to strike a balance in the public interest. So it's not just good enough. It's not enough to say it's working. What are the trials that have been conducted? What are the risks that are associated with using the drug? Because those are the things that would inform the manner in which the medication will be used.
But in this case, the WHO has discontinued trials for it. So how do we know from the WHO angle it doesn't work? So why are other countries, and that includes our country as well, with regards to trials for hydroxychloroquine?
Well, the issue about the WHO statement has been a little bit controversial. There has been up and down statements on it. But I believe also that what is important in making a definite statement on issues like this has to do with the data that we have been able to recover from studies carried out. And then the design of those studies is also important, because that's what has influenced the kind of statements or responses that we have had from the research world to some of the data or articles presented by WHO. Some of them have been found to be fallible in terms of the necessary data that should be available. You see, when data is presented, it's important that it's also peer-reviewed. So you need to have the details of that data so that other people can review it and look at the characteristics of the patients that you're attributing cure to. And because sometimes you find that people could just have responded positively because of some other baseline information that we do not have. It may be that they're on some other medication. So just the fact that you experience some outcomes, patients reporting positive outcomes, is not enough. We should carry out data. We should carry out studies that would release and provide us with data that we can review and be able to come to definitive statements of cure or non-usefulness.
All right, still an issue we'll be talking about, but we'd like to thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Oluwatoyin Ojo, clinical and public health pharmacist. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.
We have more on the global response to the pandemic when we return. Please stay with us.